necessarily talk when tragic things are going on, but I did want to pick your brain a little bit about these Vietnam comparisons you're hearing. Much is said about how the Viet Cong sort of let us go ahead and flee that country and Saigon and the rooftop rescues with helicopters because they didn't want to do anything to jeopardize our leaving. The Taliban is acting in just the opposite manner. This very brutal, capturing, beheading soldiers. So they are not being shy about it. What do you make of that?
I think there's an order of magnitude difference, Neil, between Saigon and what is happening right now in Afghanistan and is going to happen to Kabul. The decision on how to withdraw from Afghanistan was a strategic error by the Biden administration. While every administration, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden, all own the failures of Afghanistan, that after 20 years they refused to go to the root problem and solve it, this is going to be a problem for the Biden administration because it has huge strategic and national security implications for the United States.
All right. The prevailing view is within the Biden administration has been that he's got public backing for this, that after 20 years, most Americans, I believe 6 out of 10 shares view it's more than a high time that we get out. But it's the way we're getting out and the collapse of the government itself as we're getting out that could be alarming a lot of folks. Clearly is alarming a lot of folks. What is it doing in the region?
I think in the region, what it's doing is sending a signal that if you can write out the United States, they will eventually give up, walk away from their allies, and abandon them to be killed by the Taliban. So what this is really saying is that anyone in the region that could think they can rely on the United States to stay the course and do what's right, we're not going to do it. I mean, the unfortunate thing, Neil, right now is we are sending a signal that the United States can be worn down and defeated. And this is going to be viewed in the long view of history, just like Vietnam. It is a defeat. It is not going to be peace with honor. We are going to have to go in there with some specific targeting to be able to just stave off the inevitable because of how the Biden administration chose to execute the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And it is going to have ripple effects for years because nations are no longer going to trust us to stay the course with them if it's going to be difficult.
You know, it's all about strategy, Commander, and I remember it was back in 2018 when Donald Trump was president, the Defense Department had put out, I guess what was the equivalent of a national defense strategy, saying that we needed to focus our attention on China, Russia, North Korea, even Iran, but you can't focus on all those other activities, I believe it, to paraphrase here, when you're mired in Afghanistan. What did you make of that then? And essentially the position of the Biden administration now?
I would disagree with that, Neil. If you're going to be a world leader like the United States has been since World War II, you cannot be just a one-ball player where you focus on just Afghanistan, just China, just Russia. You have to be able to do all of them. And if you can't, then what you are doing is telling the American people that we, the government, are going to assume risk on your behalf because we don't have what it takes to be able to solve problems when it comes to difficult issues like Afghanistan. We never addressed the root cause of the Taliban, which was Pakistan, that gave them safe haven, training, recruiting, arms, and the ability to operate. We never took on the Pakistan government in doing that. Consequently, we're now living with the result on the outskirts of Kabul. We have to be able to do all those things, but the conversation needs to be held with the American people. They want what's right. They're willing to spend the money for defense with what's right, but they have to understand why we're doing it and the ramifications if we don't do it. That piece of risk has to be known by the American people, and right now they don't understand it because of the failure of politicians, admirals, and generals to have that honest conversation with them.
You know, I just wanted to pick your brain finally on this notion that it was all for nothing, and I don't have the military background you do, Commander, but I don't think it was for nothing. I mean, 20 years, no attacks on U.S. soil since, and there were, attempts to be sure. So I feel for those men and women who lost their lives, as well as so many who were permanently maimed and injured. But what do you make of that argument that for 2 decades we've essentially wasted our time?
I wouldn't say we wasted our time, Neil, but clearly, when you look at it, it's a new term. It's the grifter class. It is all these politicians and all of these admirals and generals in the defense industry who made billions of dollars in not solving the core problem on why this was allowed to exist, why the Taliban was continue to attack and kill Americans. And quite frankly, pinning a medal on someone's chest and handing a mother the flag to their son as they're being buried while you're making billions of dollars and not solve the core problem, that is what the real tragedy is here, Neil. This grifter class that we are existing with today needs to be shown that they caused this failure as much as the politicians who would not allow the military to do what they needed to do to make Afghanistan a safe and democratic nation.
Commander, thank you very, very much. Commander Kirk Lippold,